You know the scene? It's in almost every single movie about addiction ever made.
Oh, yeah.
The protagonist hits rock bottom, usually in this, very cinematic, dramatic fashion. Maybe it's raining.
It's always raining.
Always.
Ah.
And then there's an intervention, tears are shed, and finally they walk through the heavy doors of a rehab center. The music swells, screen fades to black, and that's it.
It's the classic narrative arc, right? We love a redemption story that ends so neatly with that decision to get better. It feels resolved.
Exactly. We walk away thinking, great, they're fixed, problem solved. But looking at the stack of research and reports we have here today, that fade to black is incredibly misleading.
It is.
Because in the real world, walking into rehab isn't the hardest part. The hardest part, by a long shot, is walking back out.
That's so right. The end title card in the movie is, it's really just the end of the prologue. The real story, the gritty, non-linear, complicated story that all begins the second those doors open up again.
And you have to step back into the world that made you sick in the first place.
Exactly.
So that is exactly what we are unpacking today. We're going beyond the bubble. We are doing a deep dive into that critical and honestly often terrifying window right after residential treatment.
The technical term is continuing care, or step-down care.
Right. And the data suggests this phase is the single biggest factor in whether someone achieves a temporary pause or a permanent lifestyle change.
It is arguably the most vulnerable period in the entire recovery journey. It's where the rubber meets the road. And to help us navigate this, we're looking at data and insights provided by New Life Recovery Centers.
They're based in San Jose, right in the heart of Silicon Valley in the Bay Area.
Mm-hmm.
And they seem like the perfect guide for this because they aren't new to the game. As of this year, 2026, they're celebrating 22 years of providing this kind of treatment.
22 years. They've seen decades of what actually works, and maybe more importantly, they've seen exactly why people fail when they leave that safety bubble.
Right. Their whole approach really challenges that idea that you can just fix addiction in 30 days and go back to normal.
They don't frame it as leaving rehab. They frame it as entering a specific new phase of risk and opportunity. They have this whole architectural approach to recovery that I think is really going to change how you look at the process.
Okay, so let's start with the risk then.
Yeah.
The cliff edge. I was reading your notes on structure shock, and it makes so much sense, but I want to dig into the mechanics of it.
Okay.
You can have someone doing incredibly well inside a facility, 30, 60 days sober, clear eyes, feeling optimistic, and then they relapse within a week of getting home. Why is that drop-off so steep?
It comes down to the sudden, just brutal removal of scaffolding. Think about what life is like inside a high-quality residential program like the ones at New Life.
Okay.
Your entire existence is architected for you. You wake up at a set time, your meals are prepared, your therapy sessions are on a whiteboard, peer support is literally down the hall. If you have a bad moment at 2 in the morning, someone is there.
And physically, you're removed from the problem. You aren't driving past your bar. You aren't getting those screaming emails from work.
Precisely.
Yeah.
You're in a sterile, safe environment, a bubble. But the day you discharge, that entire external structure just vanishes.
Wow.
You go from 100% support to 0% support in the span of an hour. You're back in the house where you used. The bills are on the counter. The traffic is a nightmare. All that stress just comes rushing back. But the support network is suddenly gone.
And the brain, which has been healing this whole time, just panics.
It defaults to the old pathways. We have to remember addiction is a disease of the brain's reward and stress systems. So if your brain has spent years associating stress with substance use and you get hit with a tidal wave of stress without that barrier, the craving can be overwhelming.
So it's not even a thought, it's like a reflex.
It's a reflex. And there was a really poignant point in the New Life materials about this, about how people interpret this struggle.
Right. They get home, feel that anxiety or that craving, and they think,
oh no, the treatment didn't work, I'm broken, I failed.
that's the tragedy of it.
It is. They interpret a biological reaction to a new environment as a moral failure. But New Life Recovery Centers emphasizes this so heavily. Feeling vulnerable during reentry isn't a failure. It's a feature of the process.
It just signals that you've entered the independent stage.
Exactly.
So the answer isn't to just white-knuckle it and hope for the best. The answer is to build a bridge.
A bridge or a ramp. You need to smooth out that drop-off so it's not a cliff.
Okay, this is where step-down care comes in. And just to anchor this for you listening, this isn't just a nice scary. There was a longitudinal study cited here that followed nearly 1,000 adults, and the numbers were pretty stark.
They were undeniable. The data showed that individuals who got ongoing continuing care, meaning they didn't just stop after residential, they had about twice the odds of achieving remission compared to those who didn't.
Twice the odds. I mean, in any other field,
Yeah.
business, sports, if you found a lever that doubled your success rate, you would never ignore it.
You wouldn't. It's the difference between making it and not making it. And that's why a place like New Life doesn't just say goodbye and good luck. They have this entire structured architectural approach to stepping down.
Let's break down that architecture, because I think when people hear outpatient, they have this vague idea of, sitting in a therapist's office once a week.
Right, for 45 minutes.
But the New Life model is much more robust. It starts with something called PHP.
Right. Partial hospitalization program. Now, I know hospitalization sounds intense. It's just a clinical term. Think of it as day treatment.
So it's like a full workday. You're treating recovery like a full-time job.
Essentially, yes. You're at the facility for a full day of structured treatment groups, individual therapy, just like you would be in residential. But the crucial difference is that at 5 p.m., you go home, you sleep in your own bed.
Which sounds like a small detail, but psychologically, that's massive.
It's huge.
You're dipping your toe back into the real world. You have to handle your evening, maybe interact with your family, but you're coming back to that safety net the next morning.
Exactly. You're testing the waters. If you have a trigger at home on a Tuesday night, say you get into an argument with your partner, you don't have to spiral. You bring it to group on Wednesday morning. You process it in real time.
It turns real life into a laboratory where you can practice safely.
That's a great way to put it.
Then, once you stabilize there, you step down again to IOP, Intensive Outpatient Program. And this is where I saw something specific to New Life that I thought was really smart, especially for Silicon Valley. They offer something called Superflex IOP.
This is just a direct response to the reality of their clients' lives. Look, New Life is in San Jose. The cost of living is high. People have high-pressure jobs. They have school. They have families.
You can't just take 6 months off from life.
No. And if you force someone to choose between their job and their recovery, the job usually wins because, they need to pay the mortgage.
And then the recovery suffers, and eventually they lose the job anyway. It's a vicious cycle.
So the Superflex model breaks that cycle. It allows clients to get that critical therapy, usually 3 days a week, but scheduled around their real-world responsibilities.
So they have, morning tracks and evening tracks.
Exactly. You can work your 9 to 5 and come in for treatment in the evening. It allows the person to integrate recovery into their life rather than pausing their life for recovery.
So we have the container residential to PHP to IOP. That's the structure.
Yeah.
But what are they actually filling that container with? The source material talks a lot about life skills.
Yes.
And honestly, some of this stuff seems basic until you realize why it's missing.
It is the absolute core of sustained success. There's a line from the material that really stuck with me. Sustained recovery depends less on avoiding substances and more on building a stable, functional life.
Wow. That's a huge shift in perspective. It's not about what you don't do, it's about what you do.
You can't just create a vacuum. If you remove the substance, you leave this gaping hole in the person's coping mechanisms, their social life, their schedule. You have to fill that space with skills.
Let's get into that toolkit. The first one is emotional regulation. Now, this sounds a little like therapy speak. What does it actually mean for someone freshly sober?
Well, think about it. For many people in active addiction, the substance was their emotional regulator. If I'm sad, I use. If I'm happy, I use. Stressed about work, I use.
It's a universal remote for your mood.
The universal remote, exactly. So when you take that remote away, raw emotions can feel excruciating. Small annoyances feel like catastrophes. Emotional regulation is learning how to sit with that discomfort without trying to escape it.
It's learning to pause.
That pause is the magic moment. It's responding instead of reacting. It's about identifying a trigger. Okay, I'm feeling angry. And instead of that automatic reflex to drink, you use a cognitive strategy. I'm going to go for a run or call my sponsor. You're physically rewiring the brain's response.
Okay, the next skill on the list is one I think a lot of people struggle with. But for someone in recovery, it's apparently lethal. Routines and the danger of free time.
Boredom is a massive relapse risk. We always think of stress as the main trigger, but nothing to do is just as dangerous. Unstructured time just lets the mind wander into dangerous territory.
It's the idle hands concept.
Very much so. New Life emphasizes establishing rigid routines, especially in those early months. Sleep schedules, meal times, exercise, even volunteering. It might sound boring, but it's life-saving.
Now, it's not just about being busy, though, right?
Yeah.
I read something in the notes about decision fatigue.
Yes, this is fascinating. Every time you have to decide what should I do next, you're burning mental energy. If your willpower is a battery, every little decision drains it.
Okay.
So if you know exactly what you're doing at 7 p.m. on a Tuesday because it's on your calendar, you don't have to debate with yourself about going to the bar. The decision is already made. It protects your willpower for the big battles.
That makes total sense. Automate the safety. Now, here's a skill I honestly did not expect to see on a rehab curriculum, but as soon as I read it, I got it. Financial literacy.
This is really practical and empathetic inclusion by the team at New Life. I mean, think about the chaos addiction creates. It's expensive. You have debt, missed bills, maybe legal fees.
And that financial stress is visceral. It keeps you up at night.
It's a massive trigger. So learning to budget isn't just about math. It's about relapse prevention. If you're constantly terrified of answering the phone because it might be a debt collector, you're living in a state of high anxiety, that makes using look very appealing.
So fixing the money helps fix the mood.
Exactly. Regaining control over your finances, even a small budget, it restores a sense of agency. It proves to yourself that you are capable of being an adult again.
Which leads to the social aspect. Boundaries. This is the tough one. This is learning to say no.
It's the classic people, places, and things rule. You have to limit contact with people who encourage the old lifestyle. But it's deeper than just deleting phone numbers. It's about prioritizing your recovery needs over what other people want from you.
Which can feel selfish, right, if you're not used to it.
It can.
Yeah.
But it's necessary selfishness. It's okay to say, no, I can't go to that party, or no, I can't take on that extra project at work right now. You are protecting the asset, and the asset is you.
I want to pivot to a really important mindset shift from the New Life materials. It's about how we view relapse itself. There's this massive stigma that if you relapse, it's because you were weak. You didn't want it bad enough.
That is such a damaging myth. It keeps people from seeking help after a slip because they feel so much shame. New Life tackles this head on. They explain that relapse is usually the result of unmanaged risk factors, not a lack of moral character.
Unmanaged risk factors. I like that phrasing. It turns it into a technical problem to be solved, not a character flaw.
It's practical. If you view relapse prevention as a skill, you can practice it. You identify your personal triggers. You recognize the early warning signs, which often start weeks before the actual physical relapse.
And what does an early warning sign look like?
It can be subtle. Maybe you stop going to meetings. Maybe you start isolating yourself. Maybe you start romanticizing the good old days of using, conveniently forgetting all the pain.
Those are the red flags.
They are. So the prevention strategy isn't, I hope I'm strong enough. It's, I need a plan for when these flags pop up. If X happens, I will do Y. It moves recovery from the realm of magic to the realm of the manageable.
We've talked a lot about the individual, but nobody recovers in a vacuum. Yeah. We have to talk about the ecosystem, specifically the family.
Addiction is a family disease, 100%. The whole system is affected, trust is broken, communication is toxic. That's why New Life has a comprehensive 4-week family program.
What's the hardest thing for families to learn? I imagine the instinct for a parent is to want to control everything.
Oh, absolutely. Where are you going? Who are you with? Let me smell your breath.
Right.
It's a natural instinct born out of fear. But it's so counterproductive. It creates this dynamic of jailer and prisoner, which just breeds resentment and secrecy.
The exact things that fuel addiction. So what's the alternative?
The advice they give is to support without taking control. The family has to learn to rebuild trust, but also understand that trust is earned slowly. It's a parallel recovery. The family needs to heal from the trauma, too.
And beyond family, you need peers. People who actually get it because they've been there.
That's where the alumni network is so key. Recovery is a lifelong journey. New Life's alumni program keeps graduates connected so they aren't trying to navigate sober life in total isolation.
It's the proof of concept, isn't it?
It is. Seeing someone else 5 years down the road who is happy, employed, and having fun without substances, that is the best motivator there is. It proves that a sober life isn't a boring life. It's a full life.
It really paints this picture of a comprehensive safety net. It's not just one thing. It's the therapy, the routine, the financial skills, the family work, the peer support. It's holistic.
And that's why it works. Because addiction attacks every part of your life, so the recovery has to address every part of your life.
So let's bring this back to you, the listener. Maybe you're hearing this and you have a loved one in rehab right now, and you're worried about what comes next. Or maybe you're struggling yourself. Maybe you're trying to white-knuckle it and realizing that your battery's draining fast.
If that resonates, you shouldn't wait for a crisis. You shouldn't wait for a relapse. You need to reach out to professionals who really understand this full continuing care spectrum.
And based on the research we've done, we really want to point you toward New Life Recovery Centers in San Jose. They have the accreditations, CARF International, Legit Script certified, which means they meet the highest standards of care.
And they cover that full range we discussed: detox, residential, PHP, and that flexible IOP. Plus, they accept most PPO insurances, Aetna, Anthem, Cigna, all the majors, as well as union and EAP programs.
The financial piece is huge. I know people hesitate to call because they're afraid of the cost, but knowing they offer free insurance verification, that removes a lot of the guesswork.
It does. If you are in Northern California, or even if you're willing to travel for this level of care, you should just make the call. It's a free, confidential consultation.
I'm going to give you that number right now. It is 408-297-1182.
Again, that is 408-297-1182.
The biggest takeaway here is don't wait for the perfect time. The perfect time is usually right before you think you need it.
Absolutely. Call 408-297-1182 today.
As we wrap up, I want to leave everyone with one last thought. We've talked a lot about the mechanics of recovery, the programs, the skills, but there's a bigger picture here.
There is. We started this by talking about that what's next question after rehab, and usually we treat that as a logistical question. Where will I sleep? Where will I work?
But you think it's deeper than that.
I do. The real shift happens when we stop asking what's next and start asking, how do we support recovery for the long run?
What's the difference in your mind?
When you focus on the long run, you change the goal. It stops being about simple abstinence, just not doing the drug. That's a negative goal. It's the absence of something.
Okay.
The long run is about a positive goal. It becomes about a fundamental reshaping of identity and purpose. It's about growth. You aren't just recovering what you lost, you are building something entirely new. And that is a journey worth taking.
A new life. Literally. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll catch you next time.